Hey everybody, happy Thursday. I hope you're having a really great week. I wanted to go live about something today that I've been seeing a constant pattern in, and we talked about it on my group coaching today, which if you're not in, you should totally join. That group is amazing and it's really powerful, and I love them so much and appreciate all of them. And there's a lot of breakthroughs in that group all the time. So we were talking about boundaries, basically. So there's a constant pattern with people who don't feel comfortable drawing boundaries with their clients and in their personal life too. But let's just focus on professional life, specifically around scope creep. So a lot of times the client will ask for something for free and you don't want to tell them no, right? You want to do everything you can to help your client succeed. So you don't say no and you do it. Next time, tell them before you do the extra thing. You're going to want to say, hey, so this usually isn't included in what we offer. Happy to do it as a one off, though, you know, and you do it, and it sets up the conversation so that if it becomes a repetitive or consistent request, you can say, I'm happy to do these things as one offs, but I've noticed that there's a consistent pattern here where you're seeming to need some more support in this area. Do you want to take a look at what, take a look at expanding the package, purchasing more hours, or whatever the case is? This also applies to a sales call. So a lot of times a salesperson, hey Patrick, thank you. A lot of times a salesperson will, compromise themselves on a call by offering like some type of bonus or some type of discount or some type of no interest on a payment plan or whatever the case. And they don't let the person know that they're doing a favor. So it's important to let them know on a sales call, like, hey, so this is something that we don't normally do. Let me see if I can get it approved for you. Or even better, ask them, would it be helpful if I got this for you? If I got this included for you? If I got this no interest included for you? So if they tell you yes, then there's a law of reciprocation that comes into effect where they want to get you back for doing such a solid favor for them. They appreciate it, and they don't think it's just like always included. I have someone on one of my sales teams who will literally tell them he, make sure that he gets something approved by like typing and kind of making a show of it, and then he lets them know, hey Jay, he lets them know, if you tell anyone I did this for you, I will literally fly there and cut your nuts off. And the person's like, I won't, I swear. So it's very important to let them know ahead of time that this is something special that you're doing for them and not to tell anybody. And for that reason, hey, Michael, because if you don't tell someone that you're doing something extra or some extra favor, then they don't know to appreciate it. You get no kudos. Um, and you're also going to be in a slippery slope of scope creep. So people are scared to tell somebody no because they think that they're going to piss their client off. So imagine that you're in their position. You're asking for something that's outside of the contract, but you don't know, and the person just does it. And they tell you after you guys have done things a couple times. Thanks, Michael. After you guys you've done things a couple times. Yeah, you like that, Jason? Um, afterwards you're like, look, I've done this for you a couple times and it's not normally included and blah blah blah, and the person's like, well, why didn't you tell me? Like you would be like, why didn't you tell me? Now I feel like an asshole that I have been asking for this, and you should have told me up front, as opposed to somebody telling you ahead of time if you're asking for something extra, like, hey, so we don't normally do that, I'm happy to do it as a one-off, and then you're like, oh my god, thank you so much, I didn't realize that, like, thank you for letting me know the boundaries so that I can be in them. And if the person doesn't like that, then they're not a good client. So that is another area. But basically, the reason also that this is so important just for your own sanity is that when you compromise yourself little by little like that, you're giving away little pieces of yourself without any appreciation or gratitude in return. And you start to become resentful, and your work starts to suck. You start to suffer because you're like, I'm doing all this extra stuff for this client, and so they should be grateful or happy with the fact that I'm doing all this extra stuff. but the client doesn't know that you're doing all this extra stuff, and they're like, why is this person starting to suck or be like not really nice with there's something wrong, there's some resentment or aggression going on there, and that can spill over into other areas of your life. If you have a lot of clients that are asking a lot more of you than you agreed to, and you're compromising yourself in little ways, you're an unhappy person because you feel taken advantage of, and it can put you in a really bad mood. So I have a couple of clients that have been going through this. One, the person keeps asking for things outside the scope. It's just so important to talk about it beforehand. Before you do it, say something. And I gave the wording earlier if you just joined, so check it out. And then the other thing is having good clients that you enjoy working with. So there's kind of this scarcity mindset of telling somebody no. So I had a client recently who signed somebody up who agreed to 3 months. This guy who has supposedly great integrity, his word is gold. And the second month he's like, oh yeah, so I moved and I'm just like not gonna be able to do the second month. Can we just pause it indefinitely until I find out what's going on with this new offer? So it's not that my client didn't deliver a service. And if the person had asked for maybe like, can we pause it a month? Like that's a conversation we could have. But an indefinite pause is bullshit. And it's taking advantage of somebody, and it's not living up to your word and your end of the agreement. And it's a really bad sign for a client in general. And it made my client feel so not good, that this person would not care about him or not respect him. It's just not a good feeling anyway. And so we noticed a pattern in his clients. This is not the first time. And he wanted to tell him okay, but it's more empowering to tell a bad client no. Like it feels so good to cut ties. I asked him, do you need this money? Do you need it to pay your bills? No. Would you be okay if in 30 days you didn't replace this client? You would still be able to pay all your bills? Yes. Okay. Let him go. It will feel wonderful not to have this toxic person in your life who's taking advantage of you and not respecting your boundaries and not respecting your time. And a lot of that is managing expectations up front. You need to let somebody know up front, these are the parameters that we are operating within. So, that leads to, that also ties back to the boundaries conversation I was just talking about, where you just got to let them know. Managing expectations is so important. Or oftentimes a really good thing to say is like, hey, so I make this contract 3 months because sometimes it takes 3 months. A lot of times when we start working together, I discover little surprises. Now, it could totally happen sooner, and oftentimes it does, but I want you to be okay with the worst case scenario. And if you're okay with the worst case scenario, let's move forward. Because otherwise, they're going to be up your butt about needing results now. It's just like you have to manage those expectations for both of you guys to be happy. And if that person isn't happy with that, that person is not a good client. So the scarcity mindset that causes you to accept bad clients and stay with them is actually not true. So the reason you usually do it is because you're like, I'm not going to get another client. And I've already put all this time and energy and effort into this thing. And I don't want to let it go because of that. But actually, it's the same thing as like a relationship. You are wasting more time and energy and effort by continuing to be in it, and it's making you miserable. So the best thing you can do for yourself is let go of this toxic thing and learn from it. Take comfort in knowing that you're never going to make that mistake again, because you're going to be able to set expectations better next time. You're going to be able to identify what the right client you want is, etc. So this client who was going to have to let go of this person who was $5,000 a month, I was like, I know you'll be able to get somebody really quickly, but if it was 30 days, would that be okay? And he said yes. 3 hours later, he got a fantastic client. It's important to note that he had 2 calls. One of them was somebody who he was able to identify the red flags for the client. And you guys know that you've been there, where you're getting a weird feeling, but you're like, I'll just do it anyway. And you always regret it. There's always, your gut is telling you, and it's so important to trust your gut. And if you have a scarcity mindset, you'll take that client anyway, and you'll end up wasting a lot of time and energy. And you know what? It always ends up costing you money too. Like this person who will keep asking for free stuff, or who will back out on an agreement. And the next call he had after that bad client that he said no to, that bad prospect, was an amazing client who paid him $12,000 up front. And it was exactly the kind of person he likes to work with. And as he's been saying no to the prospects who are bad, which is very empowering, and it's very empowering to draw boundaries, and it feels so good to tell somebody, hey, I don't want and need your money. I'm fine. And I only want to work with people that I love working with, that we see mutual success together. It's a wonderful feeling. And you will open up the space and the time and the availability for these good clients. And you'll be able to better identify what the good client looks like. But if you take the bad clients, you won't have room for the good ones. So that is, in a nutshell, what we discussed on our coaching today and what a lot of my clients have been going through. So I've seen it time and time again. I've done it myself. Sometimes you just got to make the mistake for yourself. It's like telling your kid, like, don't do that because you're going to be really unhappy, but you don't know until you do it. So I have compromised myself and been very disappointed in relationships that I've gotten into. And I now hoard my time and availability like a precious gem, because you will be so much more miserable if you move forward with people who are toxic and not appreciative and not a good use of your time. And it will spill over into other areas of your life. And the more boundaries that you draw for yourself, and the more people that you stick to your guns to only work with these types of people, the more you will show up great in all areas of your life. The quality of work you deliver will be amazing. The people you work with will be amazing. Your relationships personally will be amazing, because you're just going to feel great that you don't have to take a client that you feel weird about, that does not fit with you, and that you don't have to continue delivering something for free to this person who doesn't appreciate it and is going to continue asking for free stuff. Either pay me more or stop asking me. So anyway, I hope this was helpful. Thanks everybody for watching, and have a great weekend, a great weekend.